With regards to war, the Chinese expression, that one picture is worth 1,000 words is very true, particularly with regards to photographs of war-like situations. I'm sure almost every one of you has seen and recalls the photograph of a Vietnamese girl naked running in the street. I think it was a place called My Lai during the Vietnam War. And that one photograph basically broke the resolve of many Americans to fight in that war. Without going into the question of whether it was wise or unwise to be involved in such a war, I'm not going to get involved in that discussion now. But that photograph had a very significant impact on many, many people. Why? Because it's emotive. It causes people to relate to something in an emotional way. Another example of this, more recently, was some years ago. There was a famous photograph of a young boy, dead, drowned, apparently having fallen off some boat that was bringing him to the shore in a European country, and this dead boy was found on the beach. And that one photograph basically has led to what we see today in Europe, and perhaps also what we see today in the United States, and that is the inability of many countries to simply protect their own borders, which is, of course, irrational. I don't even have to explain why it's irrational, because it's so obvious. So what is going on here? What is going on here is that these kinds of photographs evince an emotional rather than rational response. And that is a problem. That is a very big problem. Human beings, particularly human beings whose job it is to run the world, and in our more specific context, those people whose job it is to administer the affairs of the Jewish people, cannot be moved by emotions. They cannot be ruled by their emotions. The Torah teaches us always to follow and act in the rational thinking response, and to act in a way which is in line with that rational response, but not to act in a way which springs almost entirely from an emotional reaction. And that is why so many people have so much difficulty speaking about war, discussing war, because war involves killing. And if you are a good human being, you don't want to kill other people. And if you are, as Am Yisrael are described in the Mishnah, Masechet Avot, as Rahmanim b'nei Rahmanim, then obviously you don't want to do that sort of thing. But the fact is, that is pure emotional nonsense, because the world doesn't work that way. It may not be how you or somebody else or I would have chosen to create the world, create humanity, human history, but that is the reality. Those who insist on living within the real world, but in defiance of its basic laws, are always in for calamity, for disaster. If an engineer builds a bridge, not based on the well-known, well-tried and tested methods and materials and possible ways of designing a bridge, if he puts all that aside and decides, I'm going to do something else and it'll be fine. But in fact, it's not. It is not in line with the realities of physics and engineering. We all know what will happen to that bridge. And people will die. And the same is true with existing in the world as an individual or as a nation. The world works in a certain way. And we have to now examine some of the basic concepts that have to do with war, the basic teachings of the Torah with regards to war and killing. And we have to understand that these are essential, fundamental parts of the Torah, because these are essential and fundamental parts of human existence. There has never been a time in history without warfare between human beings, unfortunately, but it is true. And therefore the Torah does and must relate to this reality. And that is why we have, for example, at the end of Rambam's Mishneh Torah, we have Hilchot Melachim or Milchamoth. We have the laws of kings and wars. The Torah has a lot to say about warfare, as it has a lot to say about all aspects of life and reality.